Pull up in motorcades, I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do, hustle and motivate. Choppers a throwaway, hustle the overweight. That's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way, cause I took control of things, ballin' the solo way. And if you pattern my trend, I make you my protege. It's lost in that soldier race, niggas don't know them days. Take you in back of the buildings, make you expose your rage. Take you across the tracks, make you explode the face. Now you official now, but you got a soul to save. I just been cooking that new, I'm about to drop in a few. Think if I call it the great, the people gon' call it the truth. I ain't really trip on the credit, I just paid all of my dues. I just respected the game, now my name all in the news. Tripping on all of my moves, quote me on this, got a lot more to prove. Remember I came in this bitch, fresh out the county with nothing to lose.
Hi everyone, back with a new HBAR stream covering juicy crypto setups, specifically altcoins, but we're also going to cover Bitcoin. Basically any crypto with a particular focus on the large cap, so we will delve into the top 20 more or less and look at which of the cryptos are set up against gold. So for those who don't know, I already published a newsletter on this on LinkedIn. So if you're not following us, you can also follow the AW3. Alright, so HBAR is an umbrella of AW3, and the newsletters are published on LinkedIn every couple of months. So it's not too frequent that it is published, and I will not go into the details because we're going to cover in the stream. But for those interested, hop onto LinkedIn post. I'll put the link in the description and you can read the newsletter there. And just FYI, so in this newsletter I covered Bitcoin. I believe I covered the top 10, but in this stream we will cover a couple of more. So here it goes until Tron, but I will include ADA, I will include HBAR, Bitcoin Cash, and one or two others in addition to that. Okay, and let's jump right into, and we'll come back to the links at the end of the video. So some of you might ask, how do you do this? And it is fairly simple, and it is a very empowering tool, and I highly encourage you to do this yourself so that you are reliant on nobody, not even me. Alright, so how you do this is you can divide. Alright, you can type in BTC USD divided by ticker of gold is XAU USD. When you type that, the exchange and this will pop up automatically. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. And then what you get is a cross sector chart. So in this case, this is Bitcoin against gold. This is a chart that I've already covered many times in the past, and I cover it I look at it on a weekly basis to give me a feel of where we stand at the market, because if you just look at the dollar, it could be quite limiting, because the dollar has periods where it's strong, and typically it does correlate inversely with crypto and stocks and other risk on assets, including the metals. However, there are times as well that it decorrelates. So lately we have been kind of in a double inverse relationship where crypto goes up no matter what the dollar does, in a way, just like gold was behaving. So in those moments, now that I don't have to tell you why you should have gold, right? If you don't know that, then you need to do some serious research in terms of where the fuck we're at this point of time in the world, where things are heading. I'm talking about reset. If you know, you know. If you don't have gold, oh man. So I'm not going to explain why. I'm not going to explain why you should have silver as well, but you should have more gold than probably anything else, more than crypto, more than anything else, including real estate and anything else. All right, anything else. As a matter of fact, buy a golden chain and have that written inside the chain so that you don't forget. So that's why the default setting should be, if you don't know what else to invest in that could be better than gold, you should just stick with gold. Okay, since this is a crypto specific channel, right? To all my crypto bros out there, if you don't know anything better than Bitcoin, just hold Bitcoin, you will do well. So the same framework can be applied here. If you don't know what else to invest in, just stick with gold. But if you do this type of cross-sector analysis, it will give you a clear guidance in terms of when the right moment would be for you to perhaps trade some of your golden shekels into the juicy crypto alternative and then rotate back. Okay, so we're going to stick with high time frames because, and also one other thing, I'm talking about physical gold. Okay, so the derivatives is completely something else, and you can trade there, but personally I'm not a big fan of the TradFi brokers. If you know, they are highly Citadel linked and whatever, and I just want to be safe. No third party counterparty risk. Generally, we are in reset times, so this is no time to be fucking around with having your hard-earned savings in place where you don't have access to it immediately. So even though it's inconvenient, etc., I rather have that shit right here with me, in my hands, on my bed, inside my piggy bank, far away from bad people with bad intentions. Okay, so now that that's been said, here we can see that basically since January, since start of this year, it was not a good time to be in crypto and risk on assets, because we can see that since the start of 2025, Bitcoin had a drop down against gold, and then since recently, since last month basically, started to outperform again. So we're in the middle of finding equilibrium, and I'm also not going into the calls that I've made since start this year when I have on record, and you can find that in the Telegram group. Alright, I'll also post a link in the description where you can see that I pivoted with my crypto holdings. In fact, I took all the profits from the Trump rally, put it in gold and other things as well. So that was a pretty risk off few months, for crypto. So right now we're in the middle of this equilibrium. We're in fact at a place where in the resistance zone where we previously broke down, and we'll see what happens. Maybe the top was already in, we don't know, the top of Bitcoin against gold. So you can see that going all the way back, so you can view this as a large HCF range, right? Heading back all the way to 2021. This was March 21, and then this was October 21. Both times we saw the high of Bitcoin against gold basically top out in this range. So this was just marginally. Here we barely tapped it. March 2024, also called that top publicly, was very hated call at the time, and then again we just made a marginally higher high. So you can understand that this range is a serious one, and every time we are more or less in this vicinity, in this zone where we are once again, it is a serious level of resistance. And then once we clear it, a lot of people are screaming for extremely high targets, and it depends. It depends on the gold. Like it might be that we will go up against the dollar, and Bitcoin can reach 150, even 200. But look, I don't care too much about the dollar, to be honest. At this point, we all know the jig is up. Dollar is shit. Flush it down the toilet. But this is about, is it worth it to be, taking my physical gold in my hand from the piggy bank, going to a pawn shop, exchanging it for the dirty fiat, and then depositing it in a bank, and then sending that over to crypto. There are a couple of steps involved, right? And you pay commission there, you pay some fees there, the taxman needs to report there, etc. So it really needs to be a juicy setup for me personally to consider at this point, with all the risks attached to it. So look, to keep it plain and simple, on the shorter time frame, shorter I mean from December 2023, we are in this parallel rising channel, and in my opinion, as long as we are holding this trend, which is consists of higher highs and higher lows, the trend in the short term is up, and there should be no reason to be too bearish. Yes, in the short term, it would make sense if you are leveraged long, for example, on crypto. This is not the good time to be leveraged long, because we could have a pullback all the way back down here to 26 ounce of gold for one Bitcoin. From 33 we are at the moment, nice number, 33. So from there's a difference in the risk to reward. If you are long from here, let's say the maximum upside would be 46%, and the downside is 20. So that's, is that a risk to reward that's worth it too much? But if you would be long from here, as we were publicly, screaming that you should not be bearish on crypto, you should not puke your spot stack, and so look where we are now, should be mentioned, without any significant pullback at all. So this is the difference. If you were long from there, a 24 to 1 risk to reward, but if you are long from here, then it's a 2 to 1. So for some I can understand that this risk might not be worth it, but at the same time, for those who know, we are at a specific point where Bitcoin dominance is getting close to getting topped out, and maybe it has already topped out. It has reached some very important targets already. So this is why I'm spending a little bit more time on Bitcoin, so that you understand the macro dynamics here, but the overall focus is going to be on the altcoins, where I think that the risk to reward can be a little bit better. So you can see that I already made the drawings on these charts, because as I mentioned before, I covered it in a newsletter. So let's have a look at Ethereum, and you can see from the time I made the newsletter, the entry was here. So we haven't been doing too much, right? But the risk to reward is immediately higher, and the pattern is quite different, should be said. As you know, Ethereum has been performing quite poorly. So the main question for Ethereum, and again, this is Ethereum against gold, okay, is where is the next level of resistance for Ethereum? And now that I look at it this way, I believe that this trend line could be an important one. So perhaps a risk to reward of 3, and also again here we have to look at where would the stop loss have to be placed, and the stop loss needs to be placed all the way here below, because we don't have the higher low yet. We are anticipating a pullback here in the short term, and then we should have a higher low. If we get back all the way down, although it's possible, it wouldn't be too good of a sign, in my opinion. So we could have something similar to this, except that higher low, and then we should jump and at the minimum head to this trend line. So if we look at it that way, it would also be quite similar to Bitcoin, like 2 to 1. However, if Ethereum does start to outperform and it manages to break this trend line, then we do have the 618 here, which would then be a 4 to 1. And if we head back to an all-time high of Ethereum against gold, then we're closer to an 8 to 1. So that's why this risk to reward is very conservative. We don't know yet. So at minimum, you'll be doing the same as Bitcoin, and I don't think you'll be adding on too much risk. So if you were to ask me, would I be putting some of my gold ounces into Ethereum, I would say yes. And in fact, because I'm also a little bit more risk on at this point of time, I do think that it doesn't make too much sense to be in Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin maxis are beyond euphoric, and there are signs of that you can see. So I don't think you should be in Bitcoin. in my humble opinion. I think that I would have my Bitcoin stack in Ethereum going forward from now until this gets invalidated, just to catch a little bit more of upside. And then you will see that there are patterns that actually have been outperforming both Bitcoin and gold. So Bitcoin has been outperforming gold. Gold has been outperforming pretty much anything. But the cryptos, the alts, in the time that the Bitcoin dominance has been going up as well, should be mentioned. Okay, so we have not had an alt season at all this cycle as we had in 2021. So the very few select altcoins, especially the large caps, I'm not talking about memes, that have outperformed and ETH and Bitcoin and gold are very few, and one of them is XRP. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit emphasis on that because I called this one from 30 cents up, and the targets are way higher than what I mean, I'm not talking about the XRP cult because they are calling for some crazy targets, but these targets are based on technical levels. Okay, I'm not pulling these targets out of my ass. It's the Fibonacci levels, all-time high, and then it's the supply and demand zones and the technical targets. So based on the basic pattern, so there's a big ass target that is derived out of this huge triangle which broke out, triangle from 2018. If you look at the past, how this triangle breakout occurred and what the significance of that is, like, you have to imagine we're more or less here currently. There's much more to come. So yes, XRP for me is the number one. It is not Bitcoin, it's XRP, the king crypto that has been outperforming gold. XRP is number one, and there are betters yet. Okay, so let's just go down the list one by one according to the market cap. So after XRP, we are looking at BNB. So BNB has a more symmetric setup than Ethereum, and because of that I do like BNB more than Ethereum. And if we draw a line here below these lows at current point of time, let's take this lower. So let's just say that we're anticipating a move back into this supply zone here. It would already be, it's a little bit more than a 2.5, and also you have to imagine that's 2.5 taken the ultimate lows. Okay, I don't expect that these lows will get taken out. It should not get taken out. If they do get taken out, that is a stop loss. That's a wrong on the macro thesis of we having a chance of getting some type of alt season. And for this also, the macro has to be aligned, and the equities shouldn't go into like a crazy recession. So that's also something that should be mentioned. It's not an easy environment to be trading at all, especially if you're retail and you don't know what you're doing, or this is your first cycle. You need to have some type of guidance without getting scammed to pay 10 to 20k to get access to community and courses and all that, which you don't have to do with me, with us. I'm not asking you for a dime. I just want to help you not get fucked in this reset environment. And as you know, I'm also swearing quite a bit, so I don't give a fuck about a YouTube income, ads, anything like that, So take that as you wish. It's for some, it's not for all. If you're a little bit more PC, like, man, maybe you should follow someone else. So anyways, BNB has a 2 to 5 risk to reward. If we have that pullback, that we might get it. It might just be a lockout rally and just go straight up. Like we don't know. It might be like this. We go up, consolidate sideways for like 2-3 weeks, and then bam. And if we do outperform, go back to all-time high, we could be looking at a 10 to 1. So it's all about the upside here. And if you also pay attention, there's the risk to reward, which is, I would say, more applicable if you are trading, especially if you're leverage trading. But if you're not doing that, then I would say from an investment perspective, you should pay more attention to the percentage of upside, because again, you're measuring that in gold ounces. How much more gold would you like to have? That is the question you should be asking yourself. So let's go to Solana, and Solana is a pattern I don't like too much, and I said that before, and you have to forgive me for this, risk to reward tool, because it's not, as you can see, it's not catching the price level exactly for some reason, probably because it's a log chart, but it's not something I can help too much with. But the upside here, the risk to reward is 3-1 for Solana, so a little bit more risk, but for some reason I just don't like this pattern too much. It's not really a clear range, and I can see this definitely pulling back from here. And then let's see, there could be more upside, but would I want to risk that? You can say yes until you find something completely different, and that is Tron. I mean, look, Tron is my absolute favorite. For those who don't know, I made a video on Tron at the end of 2023, one of the most viewed videos that I have made on YouTube, for good reasons. I think the insiders sure knows. Justin Sun sure knows. I also believe that the majority of exchanges definitely know. Tron is something else. I mean, Tron, just look at this chart, man. Do I have to say more? Tron is absolute stealth. It tends to outperform, like, when you should look at how Tron behaves when the cryptos are pulling back. That money tends to flow into Tron. If you also understand the stablecoin aspect to that, a lot of the exchanges prefer doing transfers over the Tron network. It's fast, you pay small fees, so they also generate revenue through that. And look, the setup here is just amazing, and it's been better than gold. It's been better than in XRP in some cases. So in full transparency, my number 1 and 2 picks for core crypto portfolio, these are the backbones. Okay, it's XRP, it's Tron. I've been saying that since 2023. A lot of people were making fun when XRP was going sideways, and Bitcoin was outperforming it, Solana was outperforming it, Dino coin, this, that, Dino coin, Dino coin, don't care what people say. In fact, when you hear these type of ridiculous statements, you should know that you're on the right track of things. So Tron is an absolute beast in the best way possible. And so if you look at the upside potential, and also one thing is that it has an expanding channel, right? So you can see this abundant, big expanding channel. It's already breached that top of the range it had from 2021, and it is just slowly coming back, but it's a very strong setup. The base that it's formed here, it shouldn't be trading below that, so you can see it's more or less 20% down from here. So extremely good risk to reward, and I think that this 1618, which we already breached at in December, will be a good target. And who knows, we might be able to hit the second fib as well. So bear in mind, Tron is a smaller market cap, so of course the move up should be more. There's more space for this to go up if serious institutional money would flow into this, right? Again, we're looking at ways we can accumulate gold. Okay, I have to repeat that so that you understand that at some point you need to take your cryptos out again into safer places, because who knows if the grid shuts down, if they do something, if they do some kind of cyber attack, out of where, then would you want to take that risk? You should understand these things in this world that we live in, because most of you have no clue what crypto is actually about. That's just facts. So now we are covering some additional setups that I haven't covered in a newsletter. That's why you see a blank page. So we're just going to draw this quickly together. And right now we're looking at ADA. ADA is also quite popular amongst a few of you. And what I see here is that it's kind of a mix between Solana and Ethereum. So this low is not too convincing for me, to be honest. Like, it's a sign of strength, but it is a little bit too close to where the price action is at the moment. So naturally, this area here is resistance, and then we have, you know, this area of resistance, like all the way here. So let's just go for the max. And there's also the FIB targets, but I let you draw that one so that doesn't take too long. But so let's just put the risk to reward from here, and then we'll be able to. That's why I don't like this tool too much. Let's come on, just catch. Okay, so it caught previous one. I mean, this tool is never mind. Let's just draw the percentage manually, so that at least we get some accurate readings here. Okay, so the max downside here for ADA would be 26%, which is not that bad, but I'm not too sure if this low can actually hold for ADA, because if we do get a severe pullback, then I do anticipate, you know, Tron will hold that low, XRP will hold that low. I'm not too sure about ADA, to be completely honest with you. But the upside here, you can see that we're already at 100%, and that's just until this resistance zone here. So if we go higher from here, if we take into account that we might be able to hit the upper line, we're looking at 170%, which is not that bad at all. And the longer it takes, the higher that target is, because again, this trend line is rising. So just to leave you off, I said I wouldn't, but I will, because I like you and I want to give you useful information. The most that I can see ADA do is head for that 618, and that 618 that's a big 618, all right? That's from the entire history basically, and that would give you a 4x, which is, you know, not that bad at all. In that case, I expect this to be driven by some big fundamental news on Cardano, the foundation, and definitely something related to, you know, how that might be used for CBDC rollout. So keep an eye on that. And now we're looking at, again, I'm just following the market cap, but this is SUI, not one that I'm personally interested in, because I just missed the move out. So, you know, I'm not too comfortable chasing higher unless I see a very clear setup for that. So SUI, this might be a stretch. So SUI is a strong one. I mean, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it reminds me of how TON was moving. TON, the Telegram token, if you remember, it was also moving in this type of rising wedge. And you know, for TON, it's pretty simple. If it can clear this resistance here, then the next resistance is here around all-time high. But you can see, compared to ADA, this move, which is more risky in my opinion, because it has already been doing a lot and needs to do more. And also, if we just take the measured move down to the lows, now you're looking at a horrible risk to reward setup. You know, you're aiming for, let's say, 80%, risking 50. That's not even a 2-to-1. That is why personally SUI is not one for me, but I can understand if you have been in SUI from here, there's absolutely no reason for you to be selling right at this very moment. And with that, I mean, look, partial profit, sure. Full exit, no, because there could be more upside to come. So 3 more to go. Now we are looking at Link, and Link is one that moves very different than what we have seen so far. So Link, in fact, is in this big, let's make this green, big HTF demand zone. So the risk is quite low, and I do like Link for a couple of reasons. And if we can get anywhere back to this level, but at the same time, what we are we're looking at is basically a lagger. Link has been lagging, and there could be good reasons for that. We don't know. So typically, playing a lagger setup is more risky. And if I were to compare this, so 30% for the downside, if I were to compare this to Tron, and I just remember it was 20-25, and the upside was like more or less 100. Yeah, so if Link can manage to make a new swing high against gold, then we can look at a 2.5x. But if what is more likely is to hit this resistance level, and then we'll see what happens. So 60% up, 30% down. Yeah, not the best. So in conclusion, I would say Link is not for me personally. So what do we have here? This is HBAR. HBAR, if you would look at HBAR in October, you would say this is absolutely not something you would want to be in. If you would look at HBAR in December, this is from October to December. That's just insane, the way it moved. It caught me by surprise. I was in HBAR here and I absolutely regretted it. I jumped in here and I definitely missed that move. I was paying attention to XRP, Tron, and I just missed this one completely. So for those that FOMO'd in here, this is an area that makes more sense to be building a position. We can see wicks here, but we also have a rejection wick. So yeah, we are in a downtrend, but this project definitely has something to it. And the strategy I would apply for this, and also to give you my overall view, HBAR is definitely one that I would want to trade some gold for. And I'm not sure where this will reverse from, but to play it safe, I would apply a simple DCA strategy. If you're not long already, I am, and I would just be adding here. If we get one more pullback, I would just keep adding. There's no reason why I don't see this thing head all the way back down. If it would, this is the level I would cut, but HBAR has been strong, and just look at this move. Even if we head back here, 60 up, that's also 25. So but measured by the downside, it's already better than a lot of the setups we've seen. 70% upside. If we go for the highs, 150, not too bad. And then the last one is BCH, also known as Bitcoin Cash. So there are a lot of other setups that we could go into, meme tokens, utility altcoins, but I want to keep this stream somewhat short, and I will cover other setups, like I do this on a daily basis, intra-daily basis, inside the community on Telegram, which is again free for you to join. Doesn't cost you a dime, and you can actually see exactly what I am positioned in, by what percentage, so that hopefully that can help your risk management and position sizing, etc. So last but not least, Bitcoin Cash here, 40% upside to the next HCF resistance. Then 60 here, not the best, as you can see, bit of a lagger, 90% upside. Max, and the downside is 30 plus. So not good. Not too good. And this is what I would like to leave you with. If you would like to have a more calmer read, because I try to do this in a slightly faster pace, Sol, Tron, XRP, ETH, and the overall high level time frames that I've discussed on the direction of crypto using Tether dominance. You can read that in the newsletter, again, link below. And please do help me spread the video by liking and put a comment. If you think it sucks, let me know. If you think it was useful, please let me know, because the algorithms are absolutely horrible. You know, I don't put out videos every day. That's not my intention. I'm not that type of person. I don't want the views, but of course I would like this video to be able to reach as many people as possible. And but I'm not that kind of influencer, you know, to shill you for a referral link every single day just for the purpose to get something out of you. So that's the way I roll. The videos, I do it when I think I have something that could be important to say. Other than that, I'm not really a big fan of doing the content thing, to be quite honest with you. So I'm more active on X here, and sharing setups. Then there's a link tree that includes also the link to our Telegram, so the private community is here. Then I do have discount links for you if you want to make use of that. All right, 20% rebate off the exchange fees, both futures and spot, KuCoin, Gate.io, Maxi. So that's that. If you need to create a new account if you want to claim that, FYI. So last but not least, private community, all right, or a Wi-Fi club, so where we discuss many more things, and you can actually see exactly what I'm holding in my portfolio, what percentage, which funds.
Back in this bitch like I never left. Stand for some shit that you never read. Passing through stages in life, through the ups and the downs, like it's all just another test. Live by the rules like a fucking ref. I got respect in 100 sets. Too many chains, need another chest. Playing no games if it wasn't chess. Come from that cloth that you couldn't stretch. Come from that circle you couldn't test. Heavily pressured and under stress, even though niggas ain't sure we was a mess. Honest attempt playing to the left. Judge a young nigga by their dress. Left us no option, what they expect. Only thing we knew for sure is the bang is set. Fuck living basic, I'm taking risks. Fuck what they saying, I'm saying this. Don't waste your time, it don't make you rich, it don't mean nothing, so fuck them, let's make a grip. Double up, triple up, make assists. Ballin' so hard you can play a bitch. Lead to the lake if they wanna fish. Make sure them niggas around you stick to the script. It should be written in stone. You should come visit my zone. Don't take my word, double check all of my flows. Ask them how hustle got on, but fuck what you heard. This for who walked down that road. Sold everything but they sold, straight off the curb. Real niggas rich as you nerds. Address to whom and make it so. Don't do this for nothing.